700 islands. There's 700 different dialects in the Philippine Islands. 700. And so they've all chosen a common sense approach. Let's all learn English. They did that with 700 dialects. You think we could do that with 50 states? Let's learn English. So my point is that should be the first requirement to come into this country. Okay? You have to be assimilated to where you are more concerned and more committed to being American than you are, you know, whatever country you came from. Whether it be Central America or whether it be Mexico or whether it be Cuba, you are more interested in your future as an American, not a Cuban or whatever. That's assimilation. You need to be assimilated. I disagree greatly with amnesty, and I think that what Ronald Reagan did, and he did, I think he was an incredible president. I've already quoted him, and I don't quote presidents I don't like. But I disagree with what he did with amnesty. Because what amnesty does is penalizes all those that are trying to do it the fair way, the right way. And I think that near the end of his life, he would admit that that was a mistake.
What about energy policy?
Energy. Well, I got to tell you, we haven't had an energy policy in 30, 40 years that has met our needs. We sit on perhaps some of the world's greatest reserves of energy through natural gas, through coal, through crude, oil, all over the place. We have what we need. But this country needs an energy policy that will carry us into the next century and enable us to be the leader of the world that we need to be. I'll give you an example. We are shutting down coal plants in this country. Shutting them down. We have 300 years worth of coal. We're shutting down coal plants while China is building one a week. One a week! That's insanity. I think as far as drilling natural gas in the Gulf, we've got one of the largest natural gas finds in the world in the Destin Dome. We gotta be pulling that up. Point blank. And one of the things we've got to stop doing is we've got to stop financing our enemies that are going to take that money and kill our kids. I don't have to pray over that one, folks. So I think, now obviously the oil thing with the oil leak in the Gulf is creating a lot of stir, but I will tell you this, we still got to keep that issue and that incident is a very different incident, a very different issue than our energy policy. So I don't want to blur the two, okay? Very different. We've got to be drilling for oil, and whether we drill here or whether we drill in the Dakotas, in Montana, the Rocky Mountains, or Anwar. I told the folks at breakfast this morning, why are we not drilling in a place that has mosquitoes with feathers? Nobody wants to live there. Nobody wants to go there. And they've proven that when they run those pipes through there that put off heat, that the caribou flock to them and the herds grow. Why are we not doing that? Instead, the environmentalists have sabotaged and have really hijacked our energy policy going forward. We have got to look nuclear. You throw that out. Nuclear. Yes, sir.
What can be done about the EPA?
Woo, man. Just disband it.
I mean, was it? Can't Congress do another project?
Yeah, you know what? All of us are overregulated. Okay, all of us are overregulated. You know, and the last thing I want to do through a cap and trade bill is give them more power to infiltrate our lives, because that's going to trickle down to heating and cooling bills. You and I, we're going to pay more. By the way, y'all are already paying more for gas. You pay 5 to 10 cents more over here than we pay in Bay.
Didn't they just get the authority to override Congress?
Yes.
That's what they do?
Yes. Yes.
So what is Congress?
So, you know, I will tell you this though. They have not done one thing up there that Congress hasn't turned a blind eye to and allowed.
I know.
Okay, so that's been in concert. Okay.
They cut their own roads.
Yeah. But EPA, if you talk about education, you know, the education system, I have 4 in education, and it bothers me greatly. I think that the state of Florida and the 67 states that make up Florida, they know better what their kids need. They know better the progress that their children should be on. I think that the Department of Education is a bloated department that should be dismantled and shut down. I will say this, and the reason I say this is I spoke to a lady up in Mariana, and she had a great point. She said that we do need a standard that is set by the 50 states, that the individual states determine. Because we live in a transient society, and people are transferred from jobs, from state to state, and if you're in the military, you may live in 18 different bases in your career. You need to know that your children who are leaving one school as a 4th grader are going to go 7 states over to another school, that when they enter, they're going to be on level with other 4th graders. Now, I think we can create that standard without having to depend on the Department of Education, who still hasn't created a standard. So I think that so when I say we need a national standard, that is not to say we need a national Department of Education. Parents need to know that in this transit society we live in, their children, when they go, and the reason that woman was speaking so adamantly is she moved to Jackson County from California, and all of her children, none of her children were on grade level when she got to Florida. Some were over, some were under, but the whole thing was messed up. And so therefore, whether they were over, that means that they coasted for 18 months. If they were under, they couldn't catch up. I mean, the whole thing is messed up. But education, I've learned, to a large extent, they don't want a baseline. Because with a baseline comes evaluation. You can't elevate if you don't evaluate. Exactly. You got to measure. You got to measure. And there's a lot of debate, and I'm not an expert on that measuring techniques, but you do have to measure. You do have to. So I believe in that standard, but I think the Department of Education is bloated, and I think that it's a waste of money.